Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Is It Worth It, where I go around the world and the internet trying to find art supplies that will benefit you as an artist or just make the experience that much better. Now today, as we are in 2021, we are officially in the new year and we are just gonna keep going with Is It Worth It because I think they're helpful. Now, today we're going to veer away from markers, which is seemingly what I normally do, but we're going to be looking at the Pentel Arts DuoPoint Flex pen. Now, I am not a fan of inking, and I think I've made that clear when I've been inking before, but I'm always interested in trying to find new pens or new materials to make inking just a little bit more pleasurable. And this struck me as being a little bit interesting because it has a brush and an actual pen nib. So I'm really looking forward to trying this out and seeing what it can do and if it's worth it, because these I found at Michael's, and so they're readily easy to pick up. And so this should make it convenient both on Amazon and on Michael's if you're trying to find them. But yeah, let's go check these out because I'm really hoping that these will help my inking experience. All right, so as we look at this pen, you get to see that it looks as though it's from from Japan. Well, it's from Sakura, so from Japan. It says it's a black water-based ink. The packaging is, it's fairly simple. Just got a nice little backing board out of chipboard. A nice little illustration on it. Let's see, unique flexible brush tip on one end and ultra-fine flexible nib on the other. Oh, so this is two brushes. Oh, so this is two brushes. Easy to create thin and wide lines. Perfect tool to add to your sketchbook kit. Okay, so it's two brushes, so that's an ultra fine nib. So I'm really interested to see if it's going to be a plastic nib or if it's actually like a brush nib. So all right, so the brush itself, it feels like it's fancy. Right? Like it feels like it's fancy, but it's kind of plasticky, right? Like you can really feel the plastic on it. So there's that. It does have a nice stopper here, right? So when it does roll, it kind of hits one side and then rolls back. So, eventually it is going to stop. So that's a nice little design in there that it actually has that stopper cap in there. That's a pretty brush. So it's more like a cone when you look at it. It's not like a normal brush, it's an actual cone. So it seems as though this is actually going to be a lot stronger or firmer. So that should be really cool to use, which is something that I'm particular about because I have a problem with it being too soft and the brush going everywhere, so I like that. And then, yeah, this looks like a majority of a plastic nib and then just a very tightly knit brush on there, so that should be interesting. So this might actually be really nice to use because it's going to give you a lot of control. And I don't know if you can hear it, but right, so it's got a nice snap to it, so that's good. And then let's see. So look at that, fits right, nice and snug in there. So that's not gonna go anywhere. And let's see about the other side, cap test. Flip it over maybe, ha! See, nice design. It's got a wide open spot so that you can actually put both ends in the cap, right? So that's really nice. I like the fact that we don't have to worry about our caps going anywhere. All right, so let's see what we can do with this thing. All right, so we're gonna right here, and then let's see. So we're gonna use the broad tip first. You get some nice I mean, that's a nice flow, right? Ink comes out really nice, very opaque black. That's really nice. Really, really nice. Flows so evenly. That's really cool. But what I do like is when we started up here, right, you can actually get some really thin, you know, depending on the type of touch that you have, you can get some really nice thin lines going on there. Let's see. So, you know, you can even get some very nice thick to thin, right? You can try and do some that kind of calligraphy style, you know, swoosh. But I like the fact that you can actually feather these out, right? It's a nice feather. And it just, I mean, it flows so nicely. So if you're looking for a way to cross hatch, right? And the brush itself, like the brush itself is so, it's flexible, but it's still very firm. So your brush isn't going everywhere. So it's not gonna just kind of give you all kinds of weird lines. Like you're in really good control with this. So what I have noticed though is that towards the end, once you start getting towards the end, it does start kind of fraying out, and it also gets a little lighter because of the pressure of the pen, right? So as the pressure of the pen lifts up, the ink flows less out of it. So I think it's just something that you would have to get a little bit used to, but that, I mean, it flows really nicely. It's a nice inking pen. Okay, we're gonna do the thin one. I don't like this one as much because the ink's not flowing out of this one. Like if you go really slow, let's put the cap in here. If you go really slow, right, the ink goes just fine. So I guess if you're really trying to do some really fine details, yeah, because if you're doing little lines, right, and it's got a nice feather to it because it is that flexible brush, so you can get some really nice feather lines in there, right? Just push down a little bit because the brush does feather, so that's kind of nice. But the minute you try and do, you know, longer lines, look at that, right? You try and do longer lines and it just breaks apart here, right? Because the ink's not flowing fast enough through that little nib, and so it's inconsistent. It's inconsistent at best. But if you're doing these little itty bitty lines over here, there's no bubble, right? But if you're doing little lines, or if you're doing nice little details where you have to take your time, right? So you can actually come in. This one is definitely meant for when you're doing details, right? I think that's the point of this one. This one is for when you're doing little itty bitty details, and you know, you're really trying to slow down and take your time with the brush, because the ink then flows out really nicely with that. But the minute you try and do longer lines, longer, faster lines, that's when it starts becoming a problem. So, but like I said, if you're doing small lines, it's actually pretty cool and slow, right? So you're just trying to take your time and put in those details, then yeah, it's actually nice. And it is flexible, right? So you can still get that brush feel to it, because it is a flexible nib, so that's pretty nice, and it all dries pretty quickly, so I'm very happy about that. So what we're going to do is we got to test it against some markers, right? So we're going to go ahead and just going to draw a couple of lines here. Just so we, so that it's consistent. All right, and then we're going to really slow lines. All right. So let's see what happens, because it is water-based. So I'm very interested to see what's gonna happen with the markers. And let's see, I was gonna just use one, but let's try. Go ahead and try a couple of these. I have a couple markers here. So we'll just try a couple of these. Just grab out a few real quick. There. Alright, so I have Ohuhu markers, Ergo Pro markers, and then some Shinhan Arts Touch markers. Okay, and we're just gonna pull some of the colors down. We might actually, we have 3, so let's pull these out. We'll just do this way. Everything has a fair shot. Let's see what happens. Okay. So the first one we'll do are the Ohuhu markers. All right, and all we're gonna do is just pull them straight down. Right. So that's all we're gonna do. We're gonna pull them straight down. Coat it a little bit. See what happens. All right. Go one more. So the reason why we're doing this is because normally what happens when you're trying to use your marker, right? You use your marker and then it pulls up the ink, which is horrible. So I'm going to keep doing these marker tests for these inking pens. See what happens. And we got a variety of colors, right? We're trying to make sure that it looks fine, right? From like dark colors to lighter colors to more saturated colors. Actually, use this one instead. Seems like it's dying. All right. Let's see. Oops. All right. It doesn't look like it's bleeding at all, which is great. Neither one of my markers in any form of the color is actually bleeding. So that's huge. Like, that's a huge plus, that no matter what marker I used, right? It doesn't matter which one that I actually used, none of them bled. That's fantastic. That's absolutely fantastic. All right, so we just got done reviewing the Pentel dual tip ink brush, and I have to say, I have my issues with some of it, but the biggest thing is that it doesn't actually smear when it comes to the marker. So it might actually be worth you know, trying to get to know this one, get used to using it, because a non-smear inking pen is absolutely fantastic. Because one of the things that I've realized, or that I have dealt with, is that it does smear, right? And that's a pretty big problem when you think about trying to ink and get nice and clear work, especially if you're going to try and go over it with markers and stuff like that. You don't want the ink pulling up. And so with the fact that we've used 3 different markers, and it just took it like a champ. It was like, nope, no bleeding whatsoever. That's huge. The big brush is actually fantastic. I do enjoy that. Might actually push me to trying to ink with a brush, or at least this brush pen. And it worked really well, you know? So it flowed nice, the nib was nice, and you know, the small one is the one that really gave me problems, because I can't make long overarching lines fast. Like, I can't do it fast. And in my experience, if you do things slower, that's when you start getting all those jagged and you know, wavy lines. So if I can't do it fast, that's a problem for me. I like having the control of a smaller tip so that I can actually do nice fine details, but also not take forever doing them. So that might be something to get used to, but you know, the design of it itself, the double cap where it sticks on both sides, which is fantastic. I don't have to worry about losing my cap. And then the big one is that the ink doesn't smear with the marker. That one's huge for me. And for that alone, I say that this pen is actually worth it, because if you do marker work, you know very well the smear of the ink pen. So I would definitely recommend you guys checking this one out. I will put a link in the description so you can get easy access to a online link, or you can just go to Michael's and pick them up. They are readily available there. This is the Sakura Pentel dual tip inking brush pen. So definitely go check that out. Thank you guys so very much for watching this video. I hope that you got something out of it. If you are new to the channel, please go ahead and subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you are notified every time I update the channel. If you did enjoy it, please go ahead and give it a like and a share, and let other people know about these product reviews so that they too can get the information before having to buy new material. If for any reason you would like to see me review something that I haven't yet, please drop it in the comments below, and I will definitely add it to the list. I'm always looking for new art supplies to add to my own repertoire. So please, please, please go ahead and drop me a comment. Thank you guys so very much. I welcome you all to 2021. And hopefully we will have a great year and fantastic Is It Worth It reviews. And yeah, thank you guys so very much for the support, and I will see you at the next video.